So basically, we can start at the top. The first one is just, what can I do to help?
Okay, what can I do to help? Volunteer.
Well, one way everyone can help them achieve livelihood jumps and economic success is with your faith networks to pool around and see what skills exist among you. Some people come here, for instance, with auto skills, but they don't know how to use unrecognized equipment. Or they may be able to farm or do accounting and count, but don't know how to do it in the way that would help them get a job here. So why not buddy them up with somebody on a Saturday from your faith-based communities who could provide a free mentorship opportunity and help upskill them so that they can not only get a job, but they also work in a network. There's a huge community here of people with networks with loads of skills that we can help people skill into the jobs that can fill the America's industry gaps just among us.
Another way to help, as I'm working with school-age children, the school system here assigns classroom according to ages of kids. However, their educational level is very low. Sometimes they have no education at all. However, they are placed in a grade where they do not understand the language or algebra. A lot of the kids actually at Conrad High School, I have seen their 9th grade is the largest grade they have. It goes from age 14 to up to 21 plus, and they put everybody together. And I have seen a lot of children drop out as well. They need a lot of help, and I suggest we need an alternative kind of programs for them to get technical training. Actually, I spoke with the Richland College and spoke with a dean there to see what opportunities they may have. They have many opportunities, however, they need transportation from school to those locations. They do not have, as they do not have transportation. But we in community can help them, like maybe having after school tuition, or maybe going to the schools and helping teach kids, maybe adopt a couple of kids and trying to help them with classwork. Thank you.
So I would just like to echo the judge's statement from earlier. The biggest way you can help is advocacy. Especially in light of current socio-political circumstances and the Supreme Court ruling, things like that. Really voice your opinions and your sentiments to your legislators, your representatives, also members of your communities, to fight this fear of the other. Because a lot of times it's just not known that there is even a vetting process and how rigorous that even is. They go through these various extensive background checks to even get here. So we have security under control. So it's educating your neighbors, talking to your representatives, and if you want, we can come out. So Catholic Charities does Refugee 101 sessions. We can come out if you get into touch with us. We can educate your communities on refugee resettlement. Other ways are obviously with all three of our agencies, IRC, RST, and Catholic Charities. You can come volunteer with us, you can intern with us, you can mentor families if you would like to do so. So you can contact any of these three agencies, IRC, RST, and Catholic Charities.
This almost always gets discounted to people, so that's why I'm going to make this point. You can give financially to the agencies that are doing this work. We've been doing this work for a long time. All of the tables out there are great organizations that are working with this community, and all of them are working on shoestrings. So congregations like North Haven are financially support HRI, other congregations here support other organizations, so please don't discount that. Another thing I'll add is you're probably already thinking, I don't have a lot of money. That's okay, you have a network, and so you can combine fundraising for agencies and advocacy. You can do events in your home, you can invite your friends to come. All of us would be happy to come to your home and eat your free food and educate your friends.
Yeah, let me just say, advocacy is so important. When President Obama met us at the airport after the unaccompanied minor are in the midst of that, he said that Dallas changed the national conversation from faceless others on the border to children made in the image of God. And that's about 1,000 people probably in this community that did that, many of you here in this room. I had the opportunity shortly after that time to travel to Murrieta, California and Escondido, where you may remember they turned the buses of children back in those two communities. I asked the faith community in Murrieta, how many people was it that turned those buses back? It was 107 protesters. So Murrieta was defined by 107 people who answered a Facebook post. Dallas County and North Texas were defined by 1,000 of you who spoke up. Advocacy matters.
They're up now on the screen. Hold on.
Okay, this one looks like it's going for Judge Jenkins. Dallas is a welcoming city for refugees. How can we ensure that Texas continues to be a welcoming state for refugees?
Well, I can be very brief because I think I just answered that. You have got to stand up and resist the things that are happening in this state. You've got to stand up to politicians who look at polls and decide that it's better to marginalize and pick on refugees than tell the community the truth. And you've got to be that person that stands up because there aren't that many people who will stand up. And the fact that you're here today on a Sunday, giving of your time, says that you are that 1/100th of a percent that's willing to stand up, and that's what we've all got to do if we're going to turn the tide. It is a key time in the history of our country. I know this just from social media, guys. I'm on Twitter. I was taking some pictures for Twitter today. People say things about religious groups and racial groups in response to my tweets that are pretty innocuous. They use the N-word. They talk about killing all the Jews. These are things that just didn't happen last year. So it's time to stand up, and it's time to be heard.
Okay, that's again for Judge Jenkins, and these are ranked actually by who liked what question, so they're crowdsourced.
So here we go, back to Judge Jenkins. With the newly modified travel ban, what difficulties do you think the courts will see in the near future, especially with the limitations on what the current administration considers family or U.S. ties?
There's a case that's been filed in the last 24 hours in Hawaii. I think that's one to closely watch, not to get too legalistic on y'all, but what the court put down is a close family relationship. The Trump administration has defined that to, for instance, exclude grandparents. Okay, and that's their interpretation. So I think that's an area of attack where we can have some success. Again, I think your advocacy makes a huge difference. I guess I can tell you this now that this is over, but you showing up at the airport, you chanting, and many of you were there when I got there, and everybody was looking for a clue. The police, when I got there, said, "Judge, what are we going to do with all these people?" They were looking, are we going to arrest these people? Or are we going to, I said, well, let's get them some water. Because they look hot. And so the police began helping. And the way that those lawyers found out about who was being held was largely because people who work for the government decided to pass them a note. Because you stood up, you were making noise, you were making your voice heard. They were looking out in the community, seeing people just like them. And the officers, the janitors, the people who work there, they decided to help. So that's the power of your voice.
So I think I'm actually going to invoke my right as moderator and ask, if that's what we need is the voices, how do we get connected to make it not just a bunch of disjunctive voices, but maybe something that's a little bit more unified and strong?
I think it's challenge. I think Judge Jenkins is right. This is a very challenging time for us because the anger is palpable from those who are in opposition. I think Faith Forward Dallas is a great group that, as is mentioned, Rabbi and I are both a part of. Interfaith cooperation. I find myself finding the same people. I'm going to a bunch of stuff in the community and I keep running into the same people, and I think that's a good thing. People say, oh, it's a bad thing, it's the same people. No, it's not, because we're strengthening our ties between us. The imams that I run into, the rabbis that I run into, the community activists that I run into, we're building trust among each other. And that's part of what happened at the airport, is the people who showed, it was no organization, but everybody knew each other already. And so the lawyers got going, the preachers prayed, and people protest, and Linda was there with her refugee sign that she carries at every single protest. I stand with refugees, she goes to every protest, but that's it, I remember. And so it makes a difference that we keep showing up and that we keep standing up, because those voices are not going away. Those negative, I wish I could tell you they're just gonna pull up their stakes and be quiet. I don't think they're going to. I think they've been morally licensed by the current administration. There's a theory out that talks about moral licensing, which says that if leaders give permission, tacit or explicit, for people to be racist or people to be homophobic or Islamophobic, then folks are going to do that. They're going to take that permission and do things they never would have done before. And that is exactly what's happening in society. We have to call it out. So we have to go back to our own traditions, our own faith traditions, strengthen them, be unified, and we have to keep showing up whenever it's necessary. That's what it seems to me.
I would also add that sometimes the problem seems so overwhelming and so multifaceted that it may be kind of paralyzing to try to even access one part of it. There's a teaching in our tradition that talks about the understanding that we have to be involved somehow in solving the problem, but we don't have to be the one to solve the problem. And that's a key thing. So as I think the judge said earlier, any one thing that we can do at any level, whether it's a financial gift or a post on social media or even just a prayer, that matters. And what we need more than ever is to remind people that all too often there's a sense that we become consumers rather than citizens. And our responsibility is to be citizens. And my work and what I do in my little world impacts in some way what happens out there. And in that mutuality of our work can be multiplied. And whether the access point is your faith community or the IRC or Catholic Charities or whatever, it really doesn't matter. But what matters is to exercise our rights as citizens. When that happens, then amazing things, our elected officials, for example, respond. If you've ever spoken to legislative assistants in elected officials' offices, they'll tell you, when you hear on the news or something that the offices got a flood of phone calls, do you know how much a flood is? Well, our friend told us a flood is 12 calls. That's a flood. So imagine if it was 24. It would be a torrential downpour, right? And we see that really matters. And so now more than ever, we know that it's so easy to access the offices, the places where these things are going on, and whether it's a medical opportunity that we have for a skill set, or a faith-based one, or a political action, whatever. While we don't have to solve the problem, we do have to be involved.
One thing they know real bad. if you're not on Facebook and Twitter, get on Facebook and Twitter. It's a total time suck, waste of your time, but it is the best way to get really fast information. It's how we were all communicating at the airport. And in Murrieta, those 107 people that showed up and turned that bus around were answering a Facebook post from the mayor of Murrieta to go out and turn back these disease dangerous buses. So
get on social media.
Get on social media.
Okay, I think we.
Can I say one more?
No, we got one more question.
So I just want to also, you should not just urge your elected officials, but speaking as a faith leader, you should urge your faith leaders to get involved as well. And through the work that Reverend Volkerth and I have done and others at Faith Forward Dallas, that's a new coalition of a broad spectrum of faith leaders who, according to our moniker, are united, right, together to do the justice work and the peace work in our community. And so you should urge them to get involved and to do something as well.